go live. We're live on YouTube, and any minute now we'll be live. Yes, we're live on Facebook as well. Thank you very much for everyone joining in. It is Startup Business Q&A episode 67. Your questions asked, and yeah, I feel like it's been a while. I suppose it was, but last week was a heck of a week for us, and we've had to catch up with a big push on client work. You know, it's worth sharing that, because some people seem to think that my job is being online, doing the Q&A and things like that. This is just something I do as well. My main job is running my business consultancy, which includes sales training and leadership training to a huge amount of companies around the world, but also in London as well. So this is just the side thing. And last week was crazy. Vanu, thanks for joining in, and thanks very much for your message. Yeah, last week was just an insanity week where I just had to make sure that all the clients were happy and got everything done. So that's how it is sometimes. Great questions sent through today. Thank you so much. This is what it's all about. You guys pinging over your questions week in, week out. And thanks so much for everyone joining on YouTube and here on Facebook. If you have a question for startup business related topics, that can now include sales as well, then do fire away in the comments any question and we will answer it. So whether it's an Ask Me Anything session. We're going to probably not be too long today, but a good half hour or so to nail these questions that have been sent to. Thanks so much. Let's get started. First question is from Matan Gochman. Thanks so much for your one, Matan. It says, Richard, what helps you make rational decisions rather than emotional ones and stay with a cool head? I love it when I get this question because it's something that is asked probably at least once or twice a month in the Q&As. I get asked it all the time through people sending through messages and whatever platform it might be. And it's so important because people are often making decisions in the business world based on emotional reactions. Now, it's interesting because if you look at the science, when it comes to making decisions, it's almost always an emotional one. However, the problem is that whilst emotional decision making can be a good thing because it can mean if you're totally up for doing something, it helps you bounce into the action and you move with pace, and that's good news. For instance, the decision to do Q&As like this in the first place is absolutely, it was kind of a business decision, but it was also very emotionally led. I was really up for it. I really wanted to do it. And so there wasn't much in the way of hesitation. I kind of got on and started it that first week, I remember. But the thing you'll understand is that emotional decisions can also be negative. And it can be the case that you can jump onto emotional decision making and end up in a really bad place because what happens is you are making decisions for your business as you know, based on how you're going to feel rather than how the business will benefit. Now, the best way to tackle this, because this is a really important issue, and those that get over this problem are the ones who can really win, especially with startups when big moves need to often be made. What you need to understand is that if you can imagine your business as a dependent, so like a person, I'm going to personify the business, much like a baby, or maybe you're just another person. So thanks everyone for piling in here. Rohan, Suza, thanks so much everyone joining in. What's interesting is that if you have the view of your business as though it's a dependent person on you, imagine if there is a real life person who depends on you for everything. So like a baby, they need feeding, they need clothes changing, they need nappies changed, they need all these different things. Harold, thanks so much for joining in as well. All the things they're after, you're the one that provides it. Now imagine if you make the decisions to do things for that person based purely on your personal comfort zone and emotion. So what I'm saying here is, imagine if you're deciding, I don't feel in the mood to help this person feed themselves, be fed today, and they can't do it without me, so I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to help this person to learn how to speak because I can't be bothered. All that kind of approach. Imagine that, how detrimental that would be to that person. Now you need to simply replace the person with the business. It's as simple as that. Whilst you are working for or in your business, you need to recognize that you are basically working for the business. The business cannot do a single thing without you. It's certainly, to start with, you have to very much make everything work manually. unless you decide to take actions, your business will literally do zero. Okay, it may even go backwards. Okay, so what you need to be thinking is, how can I drive the business forward? How can I make sure it's being successful? It's all down to you taking the actions. Got it? So what this means is that whilst you are in a I'm at business, I'm at work mindset, so I'm talking about not when you're sitting down having your Saturday dinner with your family, but when you are in your office, or when you're thinking about your business, or when you're doing things business related, what you need to be thinking is, unless I'm emotionally led to help this business all the time, I potentially am in a position where I might make the decision to not do anything, and that's not good enough. So the short version is this: you must always do what's right for the business and put yourself second. Okay, this is a question I tackled recently. Someone asked about being, I think there was a quote, someone was saying, you know, do you agree about this idea that you have to be motivated to start? Make sure you get motivated, you can start whatever process you're trying to do. I don't believe that that's the way it should be. Seeking motivation as the impetus to do something is a mistake. I think you should do what is needed. So necessity is what you do first. Thereafter comes motivation. Action is what creates motivation for me. This is me personally. Action will create motivation to do more things and feel great about things. But what I'm doing, and being very careful because of the semantics of the whole thing, but simply put, if you are looking to be feeling pumped before you take an action for your business, that's a bad way of running things, because you're only waiting to feel, you're basically waiting to feel good before you do anything. When your business needs help, you're basically saying, I get that it needs help, but I'm not going to do it because I don't feel good. If you feel terrible, but your business needs something happening, your job should be to do it. So to answer this question, Matan, what helps you make rational decisions rather than emotional ones and stay with a cool head? I apply the filter, because if it's business related, the filter is simple. It's, does the business need this now? And if the answer is yes, it gets done. So for instance, last night, I was getting on to about 1 in the morning. I was finishing up on a project I've been working on in a marketing campaign. And I also had another very small piece of work that needed to be done. I wanted to go to bed. It'd been a long day, all right? And I wanted to go to sleep. However, it was a case of saying, do you know what? This needs to be done. So my emotional urge was to go in one direction. I want to leave it. I can't be bothered. It could probably keep and I could just do it tomorrow. No, the business needs it to be done, so go do it. Because if you decide to build a business, then you have a responsibility to it. And you need to act as though the business is a newborn child. It's easy if you have a child, you'll be able to relate to this, but it's not difficult to work out. And I've said this so many times before, but the point is so simple. In the middle of the night, at 4 in the morning, when the baby cries because it needs its milk, okay, you don't say to yourself, I don't feel like it, so I'm not going to feed them, unless you're a neglectful person. And what you do is you say, I don't feel like it, but I have to do it because the baby needs it. And I have that care, basically the duty of care, okay, is to that baby. So it supersedes my personal needs, emotionally speaking. And it's the same principle here. That's your filter. It's as simple as that. That's the filter for the business. Does this need doing right now for the business? Right, that has to be done. And that's how, as a side quest point, that's how you overcome fear. That's how you deal with it. That's how it works. So often I get, when I ask to do things that will either help or hinder my business, I just simply say, does the business need it? Yes. Then it gets done. And what happens is you just get on with it. And what's funny is it's usually at the end of that cycle, at the end of the project, when you're either doing it, completing it, or have finished it, that you actually look back and go, wow, I can't believe I went through that. I would have been really nervous, or I didn't really want to do that kind of thing at all, but it's done now. Okay. So it's like the first time I ever did a speaking gig. I was a little bit nerve-wracking. It was really nerve-wracking, but I still did it because I knew it would help the bigger kind of the bigger picture and the longer direction. So I was like, it has to be done. It gets done, rather than, oh, but I don't really want to because I feel nervous about it. Just do it. Just do it. That's it. And it's just simply that filter. Does the business need it? Yes. If it doesn't, then you don't need to do it. And this is the thing. You'll look at the flip side as well. if you're, this is where a lot of people are unproductive. So if you're taking notes, listen carefully. And Matan, glad you're watching. This is important to understand the inverse as well. If your business does not need something, okay, but you're motivated to do it anyway, as in you really want to, then don't do it. If you're in your business space. So if I've showed up to work and there's something that I could do, an opportunity or whatever, an action that I could take, but it doesn't really help the business, but I really want to do it because it'd be cool or fun, it doesn't get done. It's really black and white, but you need to be binary like this. Okay, great example might not always, but might be, it's in the middle of the day, I'm working on my business and there's an opportunity to play a computer game or answer a message on my phone or something like that. Does it help the business? No. Do I want to do it? Hell yeah, it'd be great fun, but no, because it doesn't help the business. When I'm in a different space, when I have set aside time for me or family or whatever, then I might do them, but only do things based on what, you know, if it directly helps the business. And it, you know, that has to permeate every decision you make. So it might be deciding to read a book. So many people are posing with books they're reading, and it's like, why are you reading that though? You know, why are you choosing to use your very valuable time to read a specific book that has nothing to do with your world at all? Okay, it might be that you're in a space at the particular time of day where you've said, this is personal time, I have an interest in Japanese literature, so I will read it. No problem, go do it, because that's something you want to do and it's your designated time for it. But when you're building a business and you've decided that part of your day, which it should be in my opinion, as it is for me, is part of your business day and routine and schedule includes reading because it helps you learn certain things, the mistake of saying, so I should read The Intelligent Investor, right? Because isn't that what everyone else reads and that's kind of relevant to business? No, read the thing you need to read right now. Maybe your marketing is terrible. Maybe you need to read, you know, Invisible Influence by Jonah Berger, because that'd be more apt. Do you see what I mean? So every decision and action has to be calculated based on if the business needs it, as opposed to how you feel about it. Feelings come second. Otherwise, you get some very skewed decision making happening. I know I've labored on this, Matan, but I really wanted to give your question treatment because it is an amazing question and it really underscores a lot of reasons why people aren't winning and why people are winning. A lot of people aren't winning with their startups, even though they look busy. And it's because they're taking loads and loads of action around things they think are cool or that they want to do. But those things aren't going to help their business. Okay. And a classic example being, for instance, they're on their social media feed too much, but it's my business feed. Yeah, but you're being led by your emotions and the addiction and the fun and the you know, the pop of likes and things like that, and the little kind of emotional wins you're getting from it. But your business, is it actually winning from you doing that right now? If it's not, then don't. Even in the long term, if it's a yes, it will win in you know, through a long term thing. You know, maybe it's just engaging with people on Facebook and that's taking an hour of your time, and ultimately this might lead to people you know, winning with you and you helping them out, a long profit gain thing. Sure, then do it. But if it's like just browsing and scrolling through and this has no bearing on either immediate, short, medium or long term successes for my business, it's utterly insane. You're wasting your business's time, and again, you have a duty of care to your business, and so the way to look at it is you're almost being disrespectful to your business. So personify it, try it, see what happens, and I'd love to get your feedback. Matan, great question, thanks so much. Thanks again everyone who's jumping in here. So many people jumping in on Facebook and also on YouTube as well. We're streaming there as well. So if you have a question related to startup businesses, please post on here. Hopefully it's making sense. Right, if you can hear me okay, give me a thumbs up on Facebook and YouTube if you like this and you know what to do. Okay, so next question, first time on here. Actually, this is a guy is interesting, I think, who found me through YouTube, and we've recently connected. So Wan Musa Igbaru, I hope I've said your name right. Richard, what do we have to do to get access to angel investors? More importantly, where do we find them? So look, firstly, this is another question that comes up at least every month. Angel investors is a really important thing to talk about. I'm going to give it the same works I give every time. Firstly, do you actually need an investor? Okay, so many, and I'm not saying this is you, Master, or One Master at all, but for some people, they think I'm building a business, so I should get investors, right? Why? Do you need them or not? I always have erred on the side of not having investors because I would prefer to not be in someone's pocket. If I needed investors, then sure, I'd go get them. You know, when Amazon was building, when Elon Musk is building his businesses and things like that, sure, these are types of businesses that need investors because it helps them grow faster. So that might be part of your plan. It might be necessary. For many of you, you don't need an investor at all. You need to get on with your work, or you need to actually get some sales in. And the reason I'm saying this is because I've got enough experience over the years of speaking to startup business owners and entrepreneurs who are chasing investors for a bad reason. And it's because they're trying to get capital because they don't have any money. And what I don't mean is they don't have enough kind of money to run the business. It's they personally aren't splashing cash all over the place. So what they're basically doing is saying, in order to be paid more, I'm just going to go get an investor. It's a mistake. Okay. You should be thinking to yourself, do I want to be giving something up really? Because there's a trade-off if you have investors in that you have terms attached, which might be you have to pay them back over a certain period, or maybe you're giving up a chunk of your business or something like that. So think on it. Do you actually need one in the first place? Moving to the answer here. Firstly, you don't have to look for actual professional angel investors. You can look to people who aren't angel investors, people who simply have some disposable income they're interested in spending. Looking at friends and family first is actually, whilst with a caveat I'll share in a second, is actually a really good idea, because you tend to find you get very, very favorable terms with your friends and family. If you ask your family for money right now, if they can provide it, they probably would, right? But what they're not going to do is give you hardcore terms like some kind of loan shark might. So thinking about that, you tend to find that you get better terms there. So ask yourself, do you want to engage on that level? It might be a little easier. However, friends and family, there's the emotional side. You're going to feel now emotionally perhaps a bit more indebted. You'll feel perhaps every time you go see your uncle that you're going to have to, make him feel like you're spending his money wisely, and that's not necessarily a way to do it. If you look at Warren Buffett and when he started Berkshire Hathaway, the way he pitched potential investors in his business was to say, here's the rule: you give me the money and you don't question at all how I use it. That's it. Okay, and you get your payout every year or whatever it is, but you don't question what I do with the money. And so maybe you need to have those kind of terms. A simple way of finding angel investors is to look at those who are in your power base right around you. But look, it's not hard to find people in the angel investor network.com and things like that. Just type into Google, they're all over the place. But here's the main thing. There is more than enough money out there. There's loads of it, okay? You don't have to look for investors to find it. You can just look to people who love what you do. And the thing is that people make the mistake of approaching investors in a really over thought out, contrived way. You are selling. That's all you're doing. So it's the same principles as a sell. So you need to be thinking to yourself, I need to be right for these people. I need to be right for them. So my perspective must be their perspective. Put yourself in the guy's shoes. What is it he needs or she needs? Abraham, thanks so much for joining in. By the way, can everyone write in here where they're dialing in from? I know that I think I saw someone here from New Zealand a little earlier. People from the States certainly as well. So people all over. Let us know. Just put in the comments here where you're actually dialing in from. Dialing in like I'm old guy. Sorry. Where you're listening from. Share with us there. It'd be interesting to see where we've got, because it's usually pretty global. I'm quite impressed with it. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is you need to understand, if you're good enough, people find you. It's as simple as that. People will share. Chicago, nice to see you. William, nice to see you on here as well. Thanks very much. Just letting everyone know. Everyone, let us know where you're from. You need to be sharing what it is you do, okay? But from their perspective, why they should want to be investing in you. They don't care about, not to start with, they're not going to care about what it is you're actually making. I'll say it again, they're not actually going to care about what it is you're making. They're going to care about the outcome of what you're making. All right, it's a really hot topic for me. I've been pushing it a lot lately with a lot of sales teams I'm working with, because there's too much focus on selling the product, as in the nuts and bolts. The focus should be on selling the outcome of having the product, right? So a perfect way of putting it, I think Seth Godin said this in Poke the Box. He said the product that they buy is like the souvenir of the experience they have when they imagine being part of your world. So for an investor, they don't care to start with about what your product is. They care about the prospects and potential for your product. So you need to share with them, look, we are X business with this space, but we're able to provide this to you. Give them the headlines, right? And whenever I've invested in startup businesses, it's always been the same. I'm bought into two things. Firstly, the promise of ROI, return on investment. And secondly, the guy himself or herself, the person who runs the show, not the nuts and bolts and nitty gritty. Sure, when we run it, I mean, depends, because some of the companies I've invested in, I feel I'm not really that different to any other investor, in that companies I've invested in the past have sometimes said, could you advise us as well, please? Could we, you know, touch base with you once a month and kind of get you on the board, virtual board, if you like? And then other ones have said, we just want your money. Here are the terms. You get paid this much each quarter, or you get this percentage or whatever, and the rest, could you just leave it to us? It's like, okay, fine. But, you know, you will find that later the investors want to, later, before they commit, they want to peer into, you know, underneath the bonnet. But what is essential at the start is that you recognize they only care about what the return on investment is going to look like, and if you're a good guy. If they connect with you, and I think this is a good person, it's someone I can trust, that helps them believe the ROI will be there. But you need to also remember is that if you're not positioning yourself in terms of sharing how they're going to win, you're being too focused on you. And like with normal selling, that's just not what they're going to care about. So the product comes secondary to what they get out of it. So getting access to angel investors, like I say, if you've got a good enough product, you'll find you're making noise about it. If it's exciting, people will want to share and talk about you. Investors will soon pick you up. They're everywhere. They really are. You don't have to go to a particular place. If I was a professional investor, and that's all I did, I wouldn't only go on these angel investor networks to look at my opportunities, because they're totally saturated with huge amounts of people wanting money, and plenty of them will have rubbish with ideas. What you need to make sure you're doing, if you're an investor, is keeping your ear to the ground. Okay, so if you're doing a good enough job of selling a good product, or if you're producing a good idea, you should have a good bit of noise around you. If you don't, you need to be sharing and documenting the building of this business and the ideas you've got, because you get picked up quite quickly. It's surprising how many people are listening and pass on the good word. Okay, if you want to be very secretive, well then sure, you do need to approach investors directly, but the way to do it is to be short and sweet and talk about what it is you're offering, so for them as an outcome of investing in you, not what you're offering, because you're just talking about your product then. Got it? So if you can get that right, then you're in a place, and this is just selling anyway, you're in a place where the person will feel, I want that outcome. Now let's look at what the product is. And this is the thing, this is what people don't get. It's like when if someone buys a Ferrari, they're not actually buying the Ferrari car so much, not many people. What they usually are doing is buying the outcome of having a Ferrari. They're buying the fact that they like fast cars and noise because it makes them feel like a powerful person. They like the fact that if they owned this object, it would give them attention, in whatever guise that might be. And so it might be compensation for something, as in, you know, they're trying to offset a lack of something, or it could be that they want to have a certain appearance or vibe. All that's emotional stuff. The device by which they get those set of outcomes is called a Ferrari. Okay, no one actually cares what it is. It's like, yeah, it's beautiful and things like that. They appreciate the art of how it looks. Well, that's the emotional satisfaction they're after, and the Ferrari fits that. They're not out and out buying the nuts and bolts and metal paneling that makes the Ferrari. They're buying what it represents. And it's the same thing here. So it seems like a little bit of a touchy-feely answer, but this is the nut. This is the kind of the nubbin of it all. That's what you need to really get down to. So bear that in mind. It doesn't have to be official investors only. Ask yourself, do you really need investors? And if you must, then always focus on what they get out of it. Bottom line is, if people are going to give you money or they're going to give you time, they need some form of remuneration or compensation for that. So you need to get to that point fast. Thereafter, when it comes to engaging with investors, of course, share the obvious, show them you've worked out the downside, as Richard Branson would say, because if you haven't worked out how you're going to deal with not just it going well, but it going badly, they sure as hell will, because that's the way I look at it. One of the first things I've always done when I've looked at if a business is worth investing in, either time or money or something else, it's always a case of, when I look at the detail, it's like, okay, great, good idea, like it, like the person that, but what if that happens? What are you going to do? So you need to then be ready to say to them, it's fine because I have this experience and here's the battle plan for it. Or I don't have this experience, but here's my guy that does, and here's my network, and here's how we'd handle it, or whatever it might be. See, so that's essential. Absolutely essential to cover the downside as well. Let's move on. 2 more questions. Thumbs up if this is all good for you so far. Thanks so much for joining in all over the world. It's good to see. Also, if you are just joining in right now, let us know where you're coming in from. So whereabouts in the world. We're having a lot of across the States. Some in Berlin, I think, as well, out of Germany. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Facebook. So next question is from Adam Mosley. With so much competition in all industries, what do you think are the key components to standing out as something special? There aren't key components. There's a key component. If you're going to stand, this I know it sounds cheesy, right? But look, the way to stand out as something special is to focus on you and this is 2017, and so with the kind of technology you've got and the access to being in someone's hand, literally on that palm in their mobile phone, is you've got to understand that your personal brand is essential. So, for instance, if I was running a small startup business, the buy-in to me personally is worth far, far more than the offering I'm actually providing. Okay. For instance, so many people out there are Instagram consultants. They'll show you how to grow your Instagram, get leads, get clients, make money, things like that. But which ones do you buy from? You buy from the ones that sure appear to kind of know things, but there's plenty of knowledge that's for free on YouTube you get yourself. The ones that you directly spend money with are the ones you like. That's kind of an emotional reasoning there. And so you got to trust that person. That's where the sales really come from. Something about them. Maybe they're funny, maybe they have a really good way with words. Maybe you respect them because they seem intelligent. Maybe you like their consistency because every week on a Monday, you get an email in their inbox that explains, you get an email in your inbox rather, that explains something wonderful about Instagram. It makes you want to buy into them even more. They have a group or something like that. Whatever it might be, these are things that are essential because you end up buying into the person, not the actual service itself. It's the same, in similar ways as the last question. So what this means is you need to work on your personal brand a lot. And if you're going to engage with people and get them to like you, so they give you the benefit of the doubt, they trust you, they want to find ways to be in your world, they feel positive about you, you represent their space, and then, oh, look, there's a product there that is relevant to them that they could buy, then you need to share on a human level. So there's text, there's images, because if you're going to write, then it needs to be a motive so people can, follow the story. If it's going to be images, it needs to be something that represents something that's going to get them going. But ideally, things like video allows you to get to know that person. Plenty of the people who watch the Q&As, and every week I'm tremendously fortunate that hundreds of views of these Q&As get built up. I'm really impressed with it. Plenty of people, in fact, probably most of them who watch them have never physically met me, right? Physically. But there's this connection that can be built because we're at least doing the second best thing, which isn't a phone call, isn't audio, but it is us as close as we can, but you can see me as a person, and that's very relatable. And that's how you can build a relationship as well. So to answer the question, with all the competition, what you've got to recognize is you're not going to, the best place to start is to not try and be the greatest person to everyone. It's zone in on your hyper niche, the super tight niche. What is it locally, geographically, in terms of the niche in the industry? What it is that you focus on, target that set of people and give them loads of love and attention and value, so they think you're a bit of an expert in your space and they love what you're doing. And then it's as simple as this. You just keep working on building your personal brand, show up every day, keep giving value and being someone who they're interested in. If you resonate with people enough, then you'll start expanding. That's just how it works. And what you tend to find is that there is space in every industry for everyone. Okay, it's not about trying to dominate your industry so much that there's no one else that comes near to start with. That might be an end goal, that's wonderful, but what you're going to do at the beginning is say there's plenty of other people out there who are just as good, if not better, but what I need to recognize is there's enough people out there who are like me. The moment you look generic or average or similar to anyone else, by you I mean your business, sorry, you fail. Because if you have that Facebook page, that fan page for your business, and it's got a nice logo from some stock image, and it's got pictures of just people from a stock image, and you've got the same kind of layout of text explaining about us as a business, just like any other website, all you're doing is just sitting in average. What you've got to do is throw the only thing you've got to start with to be that's unique out there. Unless it is your product, you need to throw out you. Okay, it has to be you, because you tend to find that for the majority of people who don't resonate with you, there'll be plenty that do. So be you and authentically you as much as you possibly can. Remember, there's so many people out there, you're not going to be that lucky, okay, that everyone will love you. The majority of people just will happen to not be resonating with you, but there will be plenty that do, as long as you wear yourself on your sleeves. Just be openly you, give value, help out and care and listen and show empathy and all that kind of thing. It does make the difference. And then people will feel that you're unique and different and special because they like you. And then they will want to buy your product, even if it's more expensive or even inferior to someone else's. I'm not suggesting you go sell crap products using this approach, but my point is, are there going to be experts better than you? Quite possibly. But it doesn't matter, because if people are bought into you as a person, then they will recognize that you're good. They tend to be bought into you because you're probably quite good at what you do anyway. But moreover, they'll buying into you as a personality, and as a result, those people will want to then go potentially spend with you in the future, or at least become more of a advocate or disciple even of your of your movement. So it doesn't have to take too long. It can be done, something you do it over a month, but hopefully you can appreciate this kind of thing. It is a long game, constantly working on your brand. But what you can do to accelerate things is produce great content, be creative, be interesting. You can't figure out how to go viral. It doesn't really work like that. You tend to find, if you look at the people who've really studied virality, it tends to come down to not some kind of weird knock-on effect, but usually you happen to get picked up by some guy who happens to know some big guy who's an influencer with 250,000 Instagram followers. Then you get picked up, or something like that will trigger. So you can't make those things happen unless you have immense budgets. You tend to find that just being you consistently and with great repetition each day is really the best way to get people going, I like that person. Okay, hope that helps. Thumbs up if that makes sense. Let's move on to the last question. Unless there's anyone else with a question, do ping it in here in the comments, but let's finish up here. Vicky Law has asked, Richard, what's the most important thing that investors look for in a cold email? Good question. Ideally, you want to get everyone on the phone, and just say that first, or in a meeting. Ideally, always sell to people either face-to-face on the phone. But in terms of not so much effectiveness, but efficiency, yeah, pinging out emails every day is a good idea. I do think that it is worth trying to personalize the emails, but rather than saying the most important thing, Well, let me answer. The most important thing, like I said earlier, is that you provide the value to them. That's the most important thing in the email. But let me give three things. The first thing is get the hell to the point. Okay, I worked many years ago in a executive search business. So it's like a recruitment company for director level and suite positions, and we built a healthcare brand within it, and within a year we did almost £1 million, so about, what's that, about $1.3 million of sales, or fees rather. And every day we were banging out cold emails through LinkedIn and things like that, and they were so short and sweet. You can't, you don't want to send too much, otherwise they don't get read. So the three things you've got to have are be very to the point. The second thing is to make sure you're explaining the return on investment to them in the form of a value proposition. So get to the point, sure, not, hi, I'm this guy and I've got a great background with this. I've worked for 15 years in that. No, you need to get to the emotional bit that they're going to be keen on, which is, hi, it's Richard Moore from this company. Wanted to speak to you about blah. And that blah bit is the value proposition. It's how I'm going to get something wonderful in your space, how I'm going to get you something amazing. I'm doing it by way of this product, by the way, not the other way around, which is what 99% of emails say, which is, hi, I'm Richard Moore, let me tell you about me. And hopefully then you'll want to just jump all over me and spend money on me. And that's why almost every Instagram DM that's sent out, for instance, or Facebook cold DM doesn't work. Is because they focus all in on themselves. Hi, I'm a guy who has 8 children and I've found the secret to making $1,000 a day from home. And I want to just share with you. There's all this rubbish. And it's like, no, it's not going to work, because you've not, I'm not interested in you as a person yet. What I'm interested in is where I actually win. The problem with those things is there's just no trust in them anymore. So you need to get to the point. Hi, I'm this guy, and I want to speak to you or engage with you with regard to this kind of value that I'm providing for you. And the third thing is then a call to action. And literally, like, almost the next line is, I'm in your area tomorrow, you free at 2 o'clock for a coffee. Okay, don't sell in the sense of giving all the details and the benefits and the wider issues. Don't put all that in the email. Okay, if it's a cold email, it needs to be in and out, short and sharp, the point, so what they're going to get from it and how you can move forward. That's all that's needed, because you can't sell effectively through email when you can sell through a phone call or a meeting. Can you sell through email? Yes, of course you can. We have email lists and things like that. But the best thing to do if you're trying to court an investor is get them the hell on the phone, or a Skype call, or at best meet them face to face. Because if you can meet the person in person, then you can get the opportunity to sell yourself more and get a connection, which is ultimately what you'll need if you can have that trust built that they'll want to invest in you. So getting that right is essential. Make sure you focus on the value proposition, so what they are going to get as a result of being with you. So for instance, when we engaged people about for instance placing a director into their company, if it was a cold email, it'd be something like, hi, hi John, I'm representing a guy with 20 years experience who does X, Y, and Z. I'm free in the, he's interested in a move into your space. I'm free later on today. I wanted to pop in for a coffee if you're available, something like that. What I'm doing is I'm not even introducing myself. It's kind of obvious what I do if you read the next line, because people get switched off straight away. You need to make the most of that attention of someone actually checking your email. Someone will check your email, because every email that ever comes in, there has to be a decision made. Does this represent something that could be of value? People can make a decision immediately, like within a half second on it. So your first line should be, I represent a guy who does this. And if you get it right, the email, if I got it right, which I did a lot, the response would be, oh, wow, that's exactly what I need. And then they read on, oh, wow, he's got this experience, he's done that, and he worked with that company. Great. That sounds really good. And then the call to action, it flows perfectly, because if they weren't interested, they would have deleted it by now. But if they are and got that past that first sentence, then of course it's, I'm in your area tomorrow. Sure, let's have a coffee because you represent value to me. It's no different than for investors. I've got a product that can generate this kind of yield for you every quarter. We're keen on offering 3% of the business as a result of doing or whatever. I'm free tomorrow to discuss it. I'm in your area. Are you happy for me to pop in for 10 minutes? Yeah, that's great, because it's getting to the point. It talks about what they're going to get. You can maybe chuck in like a gentle hint about what it is you do, and then your call to action. Get the phone call, get the Skype call, get the meeting. Don't write big emails. It's the greatest way, seriously, it's the greatest way of getting shot out into a junk box or into a deleted folder, into a blocked response or something like that, because no one wants to read your big email because they haven't bought into you yet. You need the shot to do that, and it means you need to get in front of them or on the phone, because that way you get the chance to make that connection. So you earn the right to ask for a connection and move to that next step by offering something interesting, okay? And that interesting thing mustn't be interesting to you, it must be interesting to the investor. Got it? Simple as that. So hopefully that helps. Anyone want help with this kind of thing? I've helped make multi-million-pound businesses as a result of getting emails right, and the wording and the language. There's an art to it. If you get it right, then suddenly people want to take the next step. It's no different to Facebook ads. It's no different to quick emails in LinkedIn. And of course, here for you, Vicky, there's no difference with cold emails either. So anyway, it's been a real pleasure. If you liked this, it's been valuable, join me again next week, every week, same time, 1 p.m. London. Next week will be episode 68, which we will cover. Same week in, week out, we do Startup Business Q&A. Thank you on YouTube. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. If you hated it, then let me know what to and give me a reason why as well. I'll be happy to see if I can improve. Anything you want in terms of other questions, if you're watching this retrospectively, ping it into the comments and I'll happily answer later on. That's no problem. I always check that. But otherwise, thanks so much for your time, and check out therichardmoore.com, where you can learn a bit more about these Q&As, plus the podcast has all of these, so you can take them wherever you want, rather than always watching through YouTube or something like that, if that helps you. Have a great Monday. Thank you so much. It means so much to me that every week across the world, especially if you look at somewhere like the States, every week people are deciding that the first thing they will do on a Monday morning is tune into my Q&A. That's one of the most amazing feelings. So thank you so much. And the fact that we've done this every almost week for 67 weeks means that with all the questions you're asking, there must be something of great value. So I really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much. And I'll see you already soon. Have a great week. Catch up with you later. Bye-bye.